I will say, Don, I like what you've been doing, but big question, challenges. Regarding your experience with working for, for companies who are in the startup phase, and we are more or less in that same area. Can you tell us what sort of challenges you experience, and like, what's the biggest one on your list when it comes to challenges? Like when I came to Virtua and I said like, ooh, ew, and then
Or maybe not just virtual, like some of the startups that you work with. You're
not
because I
just
know
not
that you were the
just.
account manager before as well. So like you work
Yes,
with startups as well. So
and I
can you share
even
with
worked
us some
with
of the opportunity? Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, and I even worked with different industries. For example, with financial industries, those who are in the loan aspect as a company, and
Financial.
other BPO actually, right, financial companies and other BPO outsourcing companies as well. For startups, I think the biggest challenge would be lack of clear processes. I mean, they haven't really gone through documenting everything. So if the processes are really not structured early on, and they really plan to scale, and because all of the business would like to really scale in the future, but without clearly putting a clear process, documenting the playbook, I mean, it's really become chaotic when they scale. So that, I think, lack of clear process is the biggest challenge of most of the startups.
Yeah, and I think if they're not able to document the process, it's probably because they're not sure like how to go about it. They haven't repeated it enough to actually document it, and so it does take time to document that as well. I do think that documenting processes, like having an actual documentation, you are also able to spot inefficient workflows because it's now like instead of it being in your head, it's now on paper. So can you tell us a
Yep.
little bit about how like inefficient workflows
Well,
for startups?
I agree with you. If you're doing exactly like things still on the manual side and with tons of back and forth, but basically it will really like slow you down. So if you know how to, if you are able to create clear processes, there will be no roadblocks. And also you were able, you're also able to automate like a lot of tasks, and it can really speed things up. So there are a lot of ways actually that we can discuss for us to be able to create and how to start creating and documenting the playbook for operations.
No, see, the thing that I hate about the workflows is that when we started scaling up, I mean, that probably the only reason why documentation won't exist is when you're the only person who is managing that workflow, right?
Yeah.
Right. Hmm.
But the moment that you scale up, you start delegating, so it's not just you. Things really can get stuck because you think you've told somebody something, but a lot of times it's only in your head. Like you assume that
Oh.
I must have told you that at some point, and that,
Uh-huh.
that they encounter problem A, and immediately it's a bottleneck. That's the part that we've been trying to, as soon as we started delegating and hiring more people, this is workflow.
Hmm.
So yeah, and uh in the same line,
Hmm.
reliance on key people, it's just something that we've been trying to steadily, like, not move away from, but make
Yeah.
sure that, because there's now like how many people uh in the organization that depend on each other, but sometimes you can rely too much on one person.
Hmm.
Yeah.
uh yeah, because how is that gonna work, right? Like you're trying to do your job, and then you got people to do other key roles, but they still come back to you from time to time. That's not growth, right?
Well, absolutely. I agree to that point, Francis. The over reliance on key people, it's actually a common mistake. Um, it's all about trust. And when you delegate things or tasks to your people, you should be able to give them trust. You need to make sure that before giving also tasks and delegate things, you have to equip them with the right tools and the autonomy to really make decisions. Because at some point we need someone to be accountable, and we know that they are capable of doing such tasks. The business becomes more scalable, resilient, and future proof. So Proper delegation, and if we know that we have given them the authority to make decisions, and I think you need to actually step back a bit and look into the bigger picture. Now I think that would really resolve things in a manner that you still have a control, but at the same time you can focus on other goals that are more important for you as a leader or even a business owner, and others would really work for you in a manner that you don't really have to really super closely supervise them.
When I think about startups and how Francis and I started, like I think our first hire was a VA, right, Francis? This was just when we were starting, and I remember this is how we would tell our VA to do things. Can you XYZ? And that was it. And there was no agreement on when it was going to be done. There was no tracking of what tasks the VA was going to do or the team member was going to do. And I feel like, especially at the very start, there's going to be a bit of you're still going to try to find your way in terms of task management. And I feel like most startups go through that. How do you think should startups improve?
Well,
in terms
basically,
of task management?
yeah, if there is actually poor task management, it's a silent killer for the company. If we delegate tasks, it should be clear enough, and then we need to have some somehow a way to monitor to control things in terms of speed in accomplishing the task. There should be like clear definition and roles, and to improve, there should be the use of task management tools. We have a lot. Actually, when I entered Virtua, I'm glad that we are using task management tools. Like, I know we started off with Monday.com,
Yeah,
and then we
Monday.com.
eventually used other tools. Now we have a lot in the market, like ClickUp, Asana, Trello. So these tools keep the tasks organized, and we make sure that everyone knows what is expected, and it helps prevent
Yes.
deadlines from slipping through the cracks. And like, one day you'll just ask, how's this work? Is it already done? Is it 50% done? We don't know. It's because we don't have a way to track it. But using the management tools, it keeps us on track always, even though we don't really get to meet them and like call them or chat them. We just have to look at those tools, and everything is up
The
to date. We're good.
important part. Yeah, I mean the important part is being able to say who has the ball on a particular task, right? And it's not, it's not like it's not a surprise to everybody, because sometimes that does tend to happen before. If you're just like, where are we on this? And then everybody looks around and says like, me? No, me. No, it was supposed to be you. No, I did this. And then, it's like, but when you look at a task management tool and you see that a task is assigned to X, and then it's been there, it squarely points to, who is accountable. But I also wanted to go back to Donn's point really about, task management delegation in general. There's two types of people in this world. But there's two types of people who that you have to deal with. Is one who doesn't know how to effectively delegate. Doesn't know how to effectively delegate, and the other one is the one who's loath to delegate. Like, they want to, but they can't. They want to, but they can't. They want to, but I can do this better. I should delegate, but I want.
Oh, that has happened to me a lot of times, especially in the early times. Like, I want to, but I can't.
Yeah. You said your mind says you want to, but your body's not really ready to. But I was saying that without the intention of dredging up.
I fully admit that I was like that before. So don't worry.
But yes. No, the good thing about it is that, sometimes you also have to realize, like, I feel like, am I not delegating correctly, or do I just not want to delegate? But, you do come to a point where, you do come to a point where you have to recognize what the error is, right? Anyway, it was more a thought, but but you did mention money.com. We moved away from that. I still get a lot of ads for it.
From
Um,
Monday.com, yeah, same.
Uh-huh. Me too.
yeah, but now we moved to ClickUp. ClickUp, the best man. Sorry, I thought.
You've been hit
It's in your head
by a
already.
ton of ads.
Well,
Move
I've been
Monday and
hit by the
ClickUp.
ads, but we think we used to use, but what are we using now? And then we are using ClickUp, and from then our projects have moved so much faster. Ad. Do you want to save your business? ClickUp. But
ClickUp, please
yes,
sponsor us. I think Francis
Hi, ClickUp.
has been able. No, just so to whoever is listening, this is not a sponsored podcast.
Yeah.
It's just this is how we go. Like
It's
if
not.
we think something, we just blurt it out. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the fact that we're telling them what our tools are and why we think
yeah.
they're great,
Mhm.
but technology gaps. That's the one that really hinders growth. And you did mention this when you joined Virtua, so might as well focus a little more on that.
Well, when I joined Virtua, I noticed that we have a lot of great talents. Like they're really uh, highly skilled, but there were like few technical gaps wherein it affects an aspect in our business, which is somehow the decision making. So we tackled data management and reporting a while ago, right? So, but we leverage on automation, and we were able to create faster responses in the evaluation forms and performance management tasks. So this allows us to be more credible in giving ratings rather to our employees. So this is very important as well to our clients because they can see how their team is growing, and they can even see the team's trends in terms of performance. So automation is really an aspect that is really important for us to be able to close that gap in terms of performance, and that really resolved a lot of things in Virtua.
I mean, you know what? We keep talking about performance management. It is all part of operations. Actually, it's
Right.
also part of ensuring that your employees know where they're at and know and for us to be able to also recognize their efforts because
Right.
performance management is not just hey you did not do this. It's not all corrective action. It's also letting people know that they're doing a good job. These are their stats, and so having that performance monitoring or performance management, having those evals, it's gonna make their it's gonna give them clarity on where they stand, right?
Right.
And in terms of
A lot of
technology gaps,
times.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say a lot of times. What I've seen is, here's what you did wrong, and I admit that I might be digging a little too far here. When reports are more, here's what you did wrong, here's what you need to do better, but it doesn't focus on the how. Like what
Yeah.
behavior should you stop? What's the one thing you should start and or continue?
Hmm.
It wasn't really that, right? So it wasn't helping them improve so much as telling them you need to improve, but not telling them the how to
Right.
was and I like that what we're doing now is I mean y- what we're doing now is actually moving in the right direction. So done.
Hmm.
Oh, I love that cup. One last thing. Based on your experience working
Hmm.
with other companies, and what do you think is the biggest red flag for failure when they start scaling up?
Well, basically, for the biggest mistake would be just like what we have discussed, not delegating tasks early on. And um, I also mentioned that we really have to step back and look at the bigger picture, because you cannot really do it yourself as an owner. And I remember telling you, Francis, hey Francis, I think you really have to focus more on other stuff, because you have already handed over this task to certain key individuals. You start building your team and processes from day one to set yourself for a long-term growth. So for those who are really trying to scale up, they really have to consider delegating the tasks and know who to delegate these tasks, because it's not just simply delegating. You have to make sure that the person you're delegating the task to is really capable of accomplishing the task.